At this point, Taylor Swift being sued isn't what shocks people anymore, it's why she's being sued, and more importantly, who stands to benefit. Because when you look at the lawsuit surrounding the life of a showgirl, one name keeps coming up in conversations: Maren Wade. And whether you believe the claims or not, it's impossible to ignore the timing, the scale, and the potential payoff. Let's strip this down to its rawest form, because beneath the legal language and public statements, this situation starts to look less like a simple intellectual property dispute, and more like a calculated move driven by three powerful forces: money, fame, and jealousy. Start with the money, because that's always the easiest to quantify. Taylor Swift's albums don't just perform, they dominate. We're talking about billions of streams, sold-out tours, merchandise empires, and branding deals that stretch across industries. The Life of a Showgirl isn't just an album title, it's a commercial ecosystem. If someone successfully challenges that name or concept in court, the financial implications are massive. Settlements alone in high-profile cases can reach into the millions, sometimes tens of millions, especially when the defendant is one of the richest artists in the world. So from a purely strategic standpoint, filing a lawsuit against Taylor Swift isn't just risky, it's potentially extremely profitable. Even if Maren Wade doesn't win outright, a settlement could still secure a life-changing payout. And that raises a critical question: is this about justice or leverage? Because in the entertainment industry, lawsuits are sometimes less about proving wrongdoing and more about applying pressure. Now shift to fame, because money alone doesn't explain the full picture. Before this lawsuit, how many people even knew who Maren Wade was? Exactly. But now, her name is being mentioned in the same breath as Taylor Swift, one of the most powerful cultural figures on the planet. That kind of exposure is priceless. Overnight, she's gone from relative obscurity to being at the center of a global conversation. Media outlets are covering her claims, social media is dissecting her story, and suddenly, she has a platform she didn't have before. And here's the uncomfortable truth: controversy sells. Being the person who sued Taylor Swift is a brand in itself. It opens doors, interviews, deals, attention from industry insiders who might not have looked twice before. So even if the legal case drags on or fades out, the visibility she gains could reshape her entire career trajectory. And that leads directly into the third factor: jealousy, which is harder to prove but impossible to ignore. Because let's be honest, Taylor Swift's level of success isn't just rare, it's suffocating for anyone trying to break into the same space. She doesn't just compete, she overshadows. Her releases dominate charts, her narratives control headlines, and her fanbase is one of the most powerful in the world. For someone on the outside looking in, that kind of dominance can feel like there's no room left. And that's where resentment can start to build. Whether it's conscious or not, the idea that someone else is monopolizing the spotlight can create a desire to disrupt it, to force a crack in the image, to challenge the untouchable status. Filing a lawsuit, especially one tied to originality or ownership, does exactly that. It introduces doubt. It makes people question whether everything Taylor creates is truly hers, or whether there are unseen influences being overlooked. And once the doubt is out there, it doesn't just disappear, even if the case goes nowhere. But here's where things get even more complex. None of this automatically means Maren Wade is wrong. It's entirely possible she believes her claims are valid, that her work was genuinely used or mirrored in ways that crossed a line. And if that's the case, she has every legal right to pursue action. But in a situation this high-profile, motives are never viewed in isolation. People will always ask, why now? Why this project? Why this artist? Because suing someone like Taylor Swift isn't just a legal move, it's a strategic one with layers of consequence. And that's what makes this story so explosive. It's not just about trademarks or album titles anymore. It's about power, visibility, and what happens when someone decides to challenge a global icon at the peak of her influence. So whether this case turns into a courtroom battle or quietly disappears behind a settlement, one thing is certain: Maren Wade has already changed the conversation. The only question now is whether that change was driven by truth, or by the irresistible pull of money, fame, and the desire to step into a spotlight that Taylor Swift has held for far too long.